Hello folks, I'm Esther Emery. I'm the homestead wife from the DIY and homesteading channel Fasten Off-Grid. You're on my personal channel today and I'm delighted that you're here. This is just a Thursday talk, so feel free to get yourself a cup of tea or a project or something else that is appropriate for listening to a story. Although I will warn you today to keep an eye on your tension in your yarn arts projects because I have a little fire in my belly this afternoon. It's Thursday morning for you, but it's Wednesday afternoon for me. I just need to be honest about that. It takes a couple hours for videos to upload. So if it comes out Thursday for you, that means I recorded it on Wednesday, just so there's no confusion about that. This morning, I got up before the rooster. Full dark, before anybody else was up. This is not unusual for me. When I get up to create content for the internet, really the only way I can do that is before my homestead and homemaker and mom and wife life begins for the day, or after other people go to bed. So I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I started editing my video that was to go up on the Fasten channel today. And I spent a couple of hours putting together a video that I hope is informative, I hope is encouraging, if nothing else, a little entertainment. I took my headphones off and I started to say good morning to my husband, who was in a black, dark mood. And I said, "Oh, what's up, honey?" And he said, "Well, I've been reading YouTube comments." Now, we are not going to derail into the question of whether or not one should pay attention to YouTube comments. It's part of having a lot of people watching your channel that you will get comments that aren't positive. I enjoy discourse. I read the comments. My husband really doesn't and kind of shouldn't. But this morning he did. And he let me know that he was upset about it. And it raised the question of whether or not we should, in fact, be making YouTube videos at all. Well, at that point, having gotten up at 5 o'clock in the morning to make a YouTube video, I thought, I'm going to go check out this comment that made my husband so concerned. When I got there, I observed a classic form of social control. Now, you'll know if you hang out with me much. If you hang out with Esther, you're going to hear the phrase social controls pretty frequently. It's like sort of a catch-all word for me for the things that you don't really notice, that you don't think about, that are keeping you from being fully free, fully authentic, and empowered to do hard, beautiful, redemptive things. A classic social control is the one that I witnessed on this comment that sent my husband into a dark mood this morning, which was that he called us posers. It was actually on my TEDx talk, which incidentally has almost 50,000 views. It was on a personal narrative about my journey of coming to understand certain things about myself. And this commenter responded to that by saying, "I'm a poser." Unfortunately, Nick and I do have to register and process that kind of criticism. We can't just kind of throw it aside, because although clearly it isn't a commentary on our full lives, it may be a useful commentary on our YouTube lives. It may be a useful commentary on our public life. And for that reason, we had to look at it, digest it, pick it apart, and come to a conclusion. At which point we concluded, no. Not only do we not accept this criticism, we do not accept this form of criticism as passed back and forth amongst people who are trying to live authentic, empowered, attentive, intelligent lives. This morning, I looked at this comment and I thought, I've been doing human for the last couple of weeks. I've been doing so much human. I'm releasing my first memoir in a couple of months, and it has me just all ratcheted up. Tremendous vulnerability that I have gone to offer this my story in print form. Certainly it has things which will offend people or cause people to not like me, but it isn't really that's the issue. It's that I've just spilled my whole guts onto the page. My heart, my beating heart is on the page in this book that will be in bookstores in December. I've been doing a lot of human in order to deal with my feelings about that. In addition, we had our rain this week, And Nick had to put the chimney set in, cutting a hole in the roof. There's no Mountain Dream home about this because I did not pull out my camera. Goodness gracious. He was up on the roof in the rain with lightning. Folks, I was not calm. I was not calm about any of this, doing a lot of human coping with all of that. And I just thought, there's no way that I can look at this comment calling me a poser, telling me that I am not who I say I am, telling me that I am not authentically who I am telling the world that I am, and let that slide. I just can't let that slide. I need to stand up and say, we have to stop calling each other posers. Changing tracks for a second, we had guests this past weekend, some folks who I don't know that well. But I knew enough to know that we would connect. I knew enough to know that we would have a good day together. They brought me some apples to feed my canning habit. And also we had some food together and we exchanged stories. Well, the one that I knew the least kind of sat me down and said, well, what are you doing out here? What is your off-grid life about? And I said, well, we don't really have a vision for it. We just did the right thing in all these separate, unique moments. We did the best thing in all these unique, separate points at which we could turn. If you were to come and see me, if you were to come and sit and have a conversation with me, I would talk to you about social controls, you can be sure. But it would be very clear that I am an ordinary person. I am a fiercely ordinary person. I am not superhero, as I have said in another talk. I am not special, as I have said in another talk. I am not extraordinary or powerful. I am an ordinary person who has made some choices that have landed me in a space that looks a little different from many other people. So let's get back to this question of being a poser, being inauthentic. I think it's a very, very raw nerve in our society right now. I think it's a sensitive point for a lot of us, whether or not we are posers, whether or not we are authentic. And I'm not afraid to dig a bit into that and process that a little bit in hopes that there's someone out there who maybe has some of the same feelings or some of the same thoughts, or may appreciate hearing the process that I've been through in figuring out whether or not these claims are authentic, whether or not I am, in fact, a poser. So it's clear when people come to visit me that I don't pretend to be something other than I am. If you were to come and sit on my porch, you would clearly have a good, clear image of who I am. So that brings us to the question of how I present myself on YouTube. Am I a poser because I create something which is sort of informative and sort of encouraging and maybe just entertainment? Am I a poser because I express myself in a way that can't possibly encapsulate every detail of my day? Am I a poser because I showed you all of the canned goods finished and didn't show you all the labor of putting them together? Or am I a poser because I showed you the design of the rocket mass heater and I didn't show you my husband in the rain, in near lightning and hail, installing the chimney set? People will say that they want you to be authentic. But then also, if you have authenticity, that becomes permission to undermine your mission, your self-expression, your permission to stand on a stage and take up a microphone and say, I take up space, I have something to say. Well, you know what? I do take up space, and I do have something to say, and so do you. So do every one of you. The beautiful thing about this world is that there's room. There's room for us, and there's room for the different voices. And if we are following that interior truth and the way that it guides us to express ourselves, it creates the most beautiful symphony of color and sound. There are the people who make steel spiral staircases, and there are the people who make beautiful paintings. There are the people who can pears. There are the people who spin and weave and crochet and dye yarn. There are the people who care for the sick, and that is truly an art. There are the people who preach and guide each other's spiritual paths, and that is also an art. There are so many different ways that we express ourselves, that we take up space, and there's room. There's room for all of this. We don't have to shut each other down and remove permissions from people. We don't have to say, I don't think you deserve to be on this stage. I don't think you deserve to be on this YouTube channel. I don't think you deserve to have this kind of attention. We just don't have to say that to each other. One of the writers that I've mentioned here before is Shannon Hayes. She wrote Radical Homemakers, a path to something domesticity, reclaiming domesticity. She used to have as the banner on her website the statement, warning, authenticity combined with joy may arouse contempt. And I've thought of that a few times when I do arouse contempt. I've thought of those pieces, authenticity combined with joy, because you know what that is right there? That's a powder keg. That's a powder keg that breaks down walls and frees people's hearts. Authenticity, and I am living the life that I want to live. Joy. You put those two things together, it could be you. It could be anybody. We can get closer each day to living our dreams, to living the lives that we want to live. And then we ask these questions. Why can't we restructure injustices? Why can't we eat better? Why can't we take better care of ourselves and one another? Why can't we get enough rest? Why can't we solve these things that we seem to be trying to solve and yet kind of never get to? Well, it takes permission. And in order to get permission, we're going to have to stop calling each other posers. I brought a quote for you. I hardly ever write anything down for these things, but I brought this because it's very special to me. This is Martha Graham. Do you guys know Martha Graham? The modern dancer, right? Who does the this thing, and I mean she's long dead, but she wrapped herself up in spandex. Did that look familiar? Sorry, I've got to put myself back together now. Here's the quote. There is a vitality, a life force, a quickening that is translated through you into action. And because there is only one of you in all time, that expression is unique. And if you block it, it will never exist through any other medium and it will be lost. The world will not have it. This quote is everything to me. This worldview is everything to me. Because who I am and what I stand for really is a world in which we are all artists. And there is a crossover point between our artist selves and our ordinary selves. Because there is freedom, there is democracy regarding creative expression. And there is nobody who says, who do you think you are? Or you aren't good enough, or you aren't smart enough, or how dare you call yourself a poet? How dare you call yourself a writer? I believe in a world where we can call ourselves whatever that plumb line of truth inside us encourages us to call ourselves. Meaning that we are creative, we are caring, we are compassionate, we are courageous, we are brave. I believe in a world where we are true to our inside selves. And because of that, we do not call each other posers. I certainly am not going to stand here and recommend that you all get YouTube channels. Half the time it's a headache. As much as I love the conversation and the community and the appreciation, it certainly does come with some challenges. But I do want to encourage you to be expressive and to be courageous in the way that you express yourself. And do not ever, ever let somebody tell you that you aren't good enough for that, or that you don't have enough status, enough permission. Don't ever let anybody withhold permission for you to be the creative being that you are, and in my worldview, were created to be. And the first step to that is to never, ever let anybody tell you that you're a poser. I'm Esther Emery. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'll see you next week.